Chapter 6, Bone Tissue and the Skeletal System, Part 2. Here is a picture of 3 types of bone tissue. This huge one is osteoclast. Osteoclasts destroy bone tissue when it's necessary. Second one is osteoblasts. Those are bone-forming cells. They are young bone cells. They usually are located on the periphery of the bone tissue, that's the bone tissue, and they produce matrix. So when they produce matrix, they finally get surrounded by that matrix and they become osteoclasts, adult or mature bone tissues. Here they are, and they interconnected to each other with canaliculi. So the process of bone tissue formation, it's when osteoblasts are forming matrix, is called osteogenesis. Or sometimes it can be called ossification. This word has slightly different meaning. It means some certain type of tissue turns into bone tissue. Like cartilage, a piece of cartilage gets ossified and becomes a piece of bone. So there are 2 stages to osteogenesis or development of bones in a fetus and a child. First is bone formation. It starts in the 2nd month of development, so from 8 weeks of the development of the fetus. And postnatal bone growth, it's when baby is already born and the bones are growing until early adulthood, when people stop growing. Postnatal, it means happening after birth. Bone remodeling, it means mild changes in the bone shape to adjust to our lifestyle. And bone repair, what happens if we break a bone, they continue lifelong. So to ossification there are 2 types. Intramembranous, when bones develop from fibrous membrane or thin layer of fibrous connective tissue. That's how our flat bones form. Those would be bones of the skull, clavicles, cranial bones, and mandible. And second, endochondral ossification. It's when a piece of cartilage turns into bone. And it happens with a hyaline cartilage. And the rest of the skeleton, all of our long bones of our arms and legs, hands and feet, they are formed by endochondral ossification. How exactly intramembranous ossification happens? If we look at that thin layer of the membrane, intramembrane, it means inside of the membrane. So inside of the membrane, special cells called mesenchymal cells group and form clusters. It's a group of cells, and they turn those cells into osteoblasts. Osteoblasts start producing osteoid or matrix between them. That matrix fills in the space and it's made of calcium and fibers, and osteoblasts get trapped inside and become osteocytes. There still will be osteoblasts on the periphery, on the outside of that area. Next step. Right now it looks like a flat kind of hamburger, or right here there will be on the sides 2 layers of the periosteum, and inside there will be developing bone tissues. So in the center there will be trabecular bone, future spongy bone. That spongy bone is formed from those osteocytes trapped in lacuna, and blood vessels are growing into it. And finally, at the later stage, a compact bone will be developed on the sides. So if we look at that sandwich, on the sides will be periosteum, then there will be 2 layers of osteoblasts, so bone could become wider. Then we have compact bone, and in the center there will be a layer of spongy bone. So sandwich-like structure, it's for the flat bones. Next one, endochondral ossification. Endochondral is when bone is formed out of tiny pieces of cartilage. You can see those pieces are visible in an X-ray of a fetus. And cartilage will be broken before it turns into the bone tissue. How endochondral ossification starts? First, again, special mesenchymal cells become chondrocytes. Chondrocytes are cells producing cartilage, and a small piece of a hyaline cartilage is formed by those cells, chondrocytes. That cartilage model grows as the second step, becomes a little bit larger, and on the sides, perichondrium forms. Next step, blood vessels or capillaries penetrate it and grow inside. That is called primary ossification center. That layer on the sides becomes periosteum. That is a thin layer of a bone tissue, like a collar or ring surrounding that piece of cartilage. Cartilage keeps growing on the sides. Inside there will be a cavity developed with blood vessels, and right here there will be compact bone on the sides. Next step, secondary ossification center is formed inside of the cartilages at the ends. Blood vessels are growing inside, and the cartilage tissue is replaced with bone tissue. So finally, at the end, we have bone, compact bone right here at the diaphysis. In the epiphysis, we have spongy bone inside and cartilage, articular cartilage on the outside. There will be also a thin layer of cartilage called epiphyseal plate, or also called growth plate, between diaphysis and epiphysis, right here. That's where that bone will be growing in the future.